Folks, in our last episode, we spent a lot of time with Pete here at James River Equipment trying to decide which size tractor, what features and everything we wanted. And I think we pretty well got that decided. Pete decided he wanted some in the high 60s in the horsepower ratings, or at least 60 horsepower. He wants a cab, wants a loader, does not want a backhoe, air seat, just high-end features overall. So we brought in Matt from James River Equipment, and Matt's going to help us maybe see what kind of numbers we're dealing with here. Matt, how do you price this stuff? I mean, is this some black magic where we have to go in and we have to be like on best behavior to negotiate, or what are we dealing with there?
James River offers our valuable low pricing year-round, all the time. We have a build your own tool on our website where you can go in and build out your tractor. Now that's not an end-all be-all price, because older inventory, things that we might need to move, we typically can have some wiggle room there. And then there's even room, especially when you're talking about all the attachments, features, and kits that he's gonna need. So you can pick the cab you want, the loader you want, the rear implements, the iMatch, the Quick Connect, whatever it might be that you're interested in. And you can get a ballpark price. You can even plug in your tax rate for where you live. If it's delivered to you, it goes off of where you're at, and if it's picked up at the store, it's the tax rate where we're at. And then you can even pick out financing options below that, and it kind of gives you an idea of a monthly payment right from the get-go. You can even plug in a trade value if you have a trade, or you can plug in a down payment if you've got a sizable down payment, to figure out exactly where you're going to land monthly payment-wise to see what's affordable.
Have you figured this up a little bit? You've seen in the prior episode, you saw what we've gone through.
Sure.
What are we dealing with there?
So I went into build your own, and I built out a tractor for you, a 4066, so you have around 52 PTO horsepower, 66 horsepower overall. We put a 440R loader on here so you can load your dump trucks and move the sand that you need to move. Mm-hmm. We've got the snow cab, which gives you the 4th and 5th rear hydraulics for the future implements you're going to want. Also gives you the premium air ride seat that you enjoyed in the used tractor. Mm-hmm. And it kind of gets all the features that you can possibly get in the cab. And it does have AC in it. Don't let the snow part fool you.
Yeah, snow. You don't need any snow cab. What's it?
Yeah, but I gotta have AC.
What is the difference? What's the deal on this snow cab?
It's just what they call it. It gives you the hydraulics for moving your snowblower around.
So isn't there a deluxe cab?
The deluxe cab is the snow cab without the hydraulics, pretty much.
So the snow cab's actually higher end than the deluxe cab then?
And we order a fair amount of snow cabs because when you get into a 4 cab, most customers need those hydraulics on the 4 because they might be raking or tedding or doing some hay work where they're going to need those rear hydraulics.
Which makes sense.
I've sold a couple of 66s with premium cab, and when you do field install hydraulic kits, it comes out more expensive than factory install because so much has to come off to do the hydraulics.
Back to what you were saying is, when you buy the thing from the factory, that's when you load it up.
Yeah.
Don't wait till afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, we can do everything the factory can do, but it's not always cheaper because of the amount of labor involved in getting to that part. All that on there, a set of pallet forks, because you mentioned unloading some mulch and things like that, or fertilizer. Fluid-filled tires, because we don't sell a loader tractor without fluid-filled tires from a safety standpoint. Package price of around $75, a cash discount of $1,000, another $5,000 James River additional discount puts you at $69,000, $70,000 before tax.
How much is a ballast box?
A ballast box is going to be right around 7 or 8, I think.
100. So, what was that number again? I kind of fainted.
70 something.
Yeah.
60 something.
Right at 70, 69.8 before taxes.
How soon can we get one?
That will depend on exactly how we want to build it out.
Okay.
You know, there's not going to be a lot of snow cab 66s on the ground right now. In my past experience in selling, we've waited around 3 to 4 months for cab 4s. Not to say we couldn't get one sooner, and if there's a premium cab sitting somewhere and we can do what it takes to get the hydraulics you need, we could probably come up with that in a little bit quicker.
How many locations do you have?
So we're a dual dealer, so we have construction and forestry as well as ag and turf. We've got 28 ag and turf locations.
Okay.
We've got 43, 46 if you count some of our parts depots as far as the whole company. And we're kind of spread across South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, and West Virginia.
So it might be a little easier because you've got inventory scattered over that whole point. It might be a little easier to potentially find something on the lot somewhere that would fit your...
Indeed, and we transfer equipment daily. We've got a fleet of internal trucks that do nothing but move stuff when it's sold, and we don't typically charge a customer for internal hauling.
And then, assuming you didn't find one on the lot somewhere, you're thinking 3 to 4 months.
It's getting better. That was probably what we waited in June when it was a little more tough to get things.
It's been a tough year.
It has. It's largely vendors, because when you get into a cab, there's a lot of different vendors that are involved in the manufacturing process. So,
any other questions?
I think it would be interesting to know how many individual parts it takes to make this tractor.
We've got a video from the assembly line in Augusta, Georgia,
Like see this
showing
fitting here,
these
this
being
fitting?
built. The video that we have doesn't start at that level of detail,
Yeah.
right? The loader comes in already assembled.
the loader's made at a different factory.
Gotcha.
The transaxle comes in assembled, but then everything else is put on. The other fascinating part is where all those parts come from.
Yeah.
They come from all over the place.
Yeah.
Sure, there's a lot of Asian parts,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a lot of North American parts here. I mean, all these hoses come from Gates. So it's American hoses, and most of the loader assembly is done in Mexico. It's actually was a bit surprising to us how much of the tractor was truly sourced in North America,
Okay.
right?
I'm all about made in USA, brother.
I think going made in USA is probably too far,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because a lot of it, the main transaxle piece for these 3s and 4s does come from India, I believe, but there's a lot of parts from North America.
Yeah.
One of the big differences with the John Deere from, I believe, any other brand is that the engineering for these machines is done here. So the design work is done in the USA. There's a large team, I've actually met a lot of them, in Augusta, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually invited us down to get to know them a little bit. So
You play golf?
No, I don't know how to play golf. Besides,
You should have played at Augusta National regardless.
we ate right by the Augusta National Course.
Okay. I guess that counts.
Don't tell Matt, but we ought to go see if we can find a competitive tractor.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Matt, I thank you very much. James Rivers went out of their way here to help us find these machines, and we really appreciate it. That's right, we're at the Kubota dealer. We wanted to try to find a comparable tractor to the 4066R that we looked at the Deere dealer. When I talked to you, you said that you really were only interested in either Kubota or John Deere. Why is that?
For me, I think top of the line.
Yeah.
I want the best brand. You know, the one that's got the most recognition, the one you see the most of, the ones my buddies use, the one I see Tim using. I've got some friends in athletic field work that do much higher level intensity work than me, and they all use Kubotas. So, yeah, we kind of word of mouth and the brand basically. Who don't know what John Deere and who don't know what Kubota is? You know?
There's got to be something to it, you know. I mean, just because everybody else buys it or does it doesn't mean you should do it. But on the other hand, if everybody else buys it and does it,
then it means there's
it
something to it.
must mean there's something to it. And I think you're going to find the resale value on these brands to be just a step above some of the resale value on some of the other brands. I think you're going to find more accessories out there. And then I think you are going to find more information on YouTube, right? Like when you start to have a little issue with it, you've got forums you can look at. You can look at YouTube to see if other people have faced that when you stick with these two major brands. I think that's a very wise stop. Now, not always. I think there are times to look at some of the other brands, but I think it's entirely reasonable for your first tractor to say, I'm gonna box myself in. Got a lot of stuff to consider. I'm gonna look at these two tractors.
And mine's not for sale. When I get it, I'm gonna use it. You said resale. I'm not selling my tractor. I'm gonna use it.
I'm gonna get on a soapbox here. Everybody says they're not gonna sell their tractor. Everybody says, oh, I'm never gonna sell it. I'm gonna use it forever. But the truth is, this may not turn out to be the perfect size for you. This may not turn out to have exactly the features that you think. Even when you do a lot of research up front, you may, for whatever reason, you may have a business downturn.
Yeah.
Right?
True.
You could
True.
have injuries. Heaven forbid, you could have family marital issues or something.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of reasons that people need to sell equipment.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are unplanned.
That is true.
So thinking ahead on resale value, I still think is important, even if you don't have any intention of selling today. I think the L6060, which we have right here, is the right machine for us to look at. It's about as close as we can possibly get to that Deere 4R. These are both the highest end tractors in the compact range, right?
Yeah.
Highest end in horsepower. They're also the highest end in features and comfort. Let's take a look at this thing.
Yeah, physically it doesn't look much different than the Deere.
That's right, about the same size.
About the same size.
Now this is a special one, guys. This is the 50th anniversary edition. It's got bling like you would like, Pete.
Oh, I like that. I'd have to ceramic coat this thing, man.
Metallic paint. My understanding is each dealer gets one of these. I don't think you're going to get a discount on this one, Pete.
Probably not. I think this one's sold anyway.
Oh my goodness. So there's some differences here. The tilt wheel is at your foot.
That's convenient.
I actually think that's a nice convenient
I
feature.
like that. Yeah.
Okay, so you don't have to have your other hand to do that.
Did the Deere have a horn?
Nope.
No horn? Oh.
Now there's a feature right here that's going to be really interesting to you.
Okay.
Go ahead and turn the key on 2 notches, I think.
Yeah.
And this has got a 2-speed hydrostatic. See, turtle? And so in addition to your low, medium, and high, this has got 2 speeds, and you can actually shift that on the go.
So if I'm in medium low and I just want to kick it up another notch, just click it up and go.
So what they say the best part of that is that, let's say you're using your loader and you're loading sand, and then you've got a nice long trip out onto the ball field. You go into fast,
Yeah.
but you want to go low to push into the pile, so you have a little bit more power.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now there's a couple of modes to run that thing. You can have it so that it will automatically shift down. So you don't even have to shift to low. You run into the pile and it'll automatically shift you down.
Oh, that's nice.
And run you to the pile. As far as I'm concerned, this is the most advanced transmission on the market.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So in addition to the 3-speed, you have the 2-speed shift on the go. Still hydrostatic.
Still hydrostatic. Okay.
It just gives you effectively a 6-speed hydrostatic instead of a 3-speed, and 2 of them are, one of them is shift on the go. So you have a pretty broad range.
That's kind of nice. I can see where that would come in handy.
Now up there on the joystick, where your index finger is, just around that, there's a button there that you can push to take the throttle. Essentially, it can go to wide open throttle, but there's a setting in the menu there where you can set it how fast you would want it to go.
A lot of the times on your bucket type things, you need a little more throttle to get the bucket up and down quicker. And that's what I was doing with the John Deere, was giving it gas, giving it more throttle, so the bucket goes up and down a little quicker.
Yeah, now you were doing that with the foot pedal on the Deere, and you have that same thing here. It's called auto throttle advance. On the Deere, it's called e-throttle, and that makes it so when you press further on the hydrostat pedal, the RPM increases at the same time.
But that's nice to be able to, like, if I'm stopped in neutral lifting and I need to give it a little more fuel to pick up a heavier load,
you don't have to move your hand. Now the throttle's right beside. It's not that big of a deal, right? And if you do have the third function for the grapple, it would go up there where your thumb was. Do you see right in there, that slot right there?
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it. Air conditioning, heat, just like the other one. Uh-oh, this has got a red head. Can we drive it?
You want to give it a try?
Yeah, I do, for sure, if I can figure it out.
You don't have to clutch it, because that's
right.
no clutch.
That's right, that's right. Oh, that's nice. That's real nice right there.
It seems like the differential lock is almost engaged, right? It's trying to spin that inside.
On one, yep.
I don't know if it's in four-wheel drive or two-wheel drive right now. It looks like it's still in two-wheel drive from how tight of a turn he's doing, but
That inside tire
it's
is
definitely really ripping up.
I like it. I mean, I really like the way it handles.
okay.
It turns, best I can remember. I know it's been a long time since this morning, but best I can remember, it turns about as tight.
Yeah.
I'd actually have to have them side by side to compare it.
Yeah.
But it's pretty close to where it wouldn't bother me either way.
I think from a loader spec standpoint, it's going to be very similar. It looks to me like the loader lifts about the same height. I think the capacity 1,780 some pounds, you know, in the bucket.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be very similar to the 4R there. One thing that, of course, you found already that's different is the treadle pedal.
Yeah, that's a little different. I think you could probably get used to it over time, but if I'm being completely honest, I like the right and left a little bit. It's a little easier, a little more convenient. But I have found that when I'm using it here and throttling, if I just put my foot back, I can push down because this.
Now another way you can do it is show me when you were throttling again. Only just use your toe instead of
Okay.
Now move your foot out and go under the pedal. And then that's a way to back up as well.
Oh yeah, you can do that. Yeah.
Now, this is almost a religious issue, right? So I have to be very careful because it doesn't matter what I say about these pedals, I'm going to offend about half the audience, right? As treadle pedals go, I think this Grand L is about as comfortable as any I've seen. When you look at the smaller Kubotas, the forward and backward are about this far apart. Okay.
So it makes it difficult.
This one, it's a rocker pedal, right? So it's built differently. You understand my bias is the two separate pedals too, because I can leave my heel and move back and forth. But I'm telling you, fans of the treadle pedal are rabid. They really like their treadle pedal. So I hate to say anything. It's just what you're used to, I guess. That's just kind of how it is.
Yeah, like I said, even with me not being a tractor owner, I prefer the side by side, like on the Deere, but I could see myself getting used to this because it's all about the angle, how your foot approaches it, as to how easy it is just to kick it back.
Yeah,
You know
and this one's real light. It's a kind of it's an electric driven pedal, right? So it doesn't have the same heaviness of the mechanical. So you really can pick it up with your toe here.
Yeah,
I don't know what kind of.
It's no effort whatsoever.
It doesn't take maybe 3 or 4 pounds of pull upward to get that pedal to come up. So I don't see it as that big of a deal on this tractor, whereas some of the smaller ones, it's a struggle for me personally. What do you think about the quietness of the cab?
As far as noise goes, I don't know. I think this might be a pinch louder.
Okay.
A touch louder, maybe.
I was going to say it's a pinch quieter.
Really?
But it may just be all in my head. Kubota does not publish the, a stated noise level in their cab.
Like a decibel level.
Yeah. Deere does. Deere says it's 80 decibels. Kubota doesn't publish, and even when I've asked them for more detail, they won't go there.
Yeah.
So I thought it might be a little, it's all in your head, right? But I thought it might be a little quieter here than the Deere, but it's hard to know.
It's hard to know. I'd really have to have that tractor sitting right here and operate this one and then jump right in that one and operate that one. All right, one thing I noticed, where are my buttons back here to adjust this without
And to back the tractor up without.
getting in the tractor?
That's a feature that I don't believe
It's
Kubota
not even
has.
an option. Nope. On some of their bigger tractors it is, but on this style, that's not even an option for it.
Hey, I want to introduce you guys to Zach. Zach is, what's your title?
I'm operations and sales manager here at Kubota of Lynchburg, so all sorts of things.
Big Cheese.
There you go.
You know, I'm calling him Big Cheese because we called Zach with not too many hours warning, and he came up with a L6060 that we could test and video here. So I really appreciate it, Zach.
Absolutely, happy to help out.
This is Kubota of Lynchburg, Virginia. A huge inventory here. You said you're like in the top 1% of Kubota dealers nationwide?
Yeah, as far as size and inventory and everything goes, we are in the top 1% of dealerships. We've grown a lot, and we focus on the customer support and Honestly, we like the videos that you guys do and that we do and Neil and everything does as well, because it helps the customers out. But yeah, we've grown and we have a lot of inventory right now, which is nice.
It is. It's an amazing inventory for this year. I mean, we don't
actually have
see
a tractor for you to look at, which is rare right now for to find a 6060 with a loader.
The first question I have, before he starts, twisting your arm, the first question I have is, when can you get him one?
See, that's the most difficult question you can probably ask all day. I'll tell you the same generic response I tell everybody, and I'll tell you a little bit more detail, but the day it ships from the factory is the day I can get you one. It could be a couple weeks, could be a couple months, and it doesn't help at all in the least.
Okay.
So.
Okay. But nobody's going to be seeing this, so just between you and me, when can you get us one?
Well, let's see. I'll talk with the guy who's buying this one, add another couple grand to it, and you'll be good to go.
Whew.
You saw me. You were off camera when I was going through some of the features. Did I miss anything major that needs to be featured on this tractor?
There's a couple components I specifically talk about, and you touched on almost all of them. The loader is always important for me as far as it's a double acting valve and very smooth. At the very end, when you were parking it, you raised it all the way up, and when you lowered it, you kept that bucket level. That double acting valve is very smooth, very responsive. I like that, as well as kind of how the loader is protected, all the hoses and the routing and everything like that. For commercial use, people grabbing branches and logs and stuff, they tend to rip that a lot. So the overall loader smoothness is nice. Obviously, you guys mentioned the Kubota quality. You either go Kubota or John Deere. You have the quality, you have the parts, you have the support, you have that kind of stuff. That's a kind of a no-brainer with it. But that transmission, that 6-speed transmission with the high and low range in it, and that throttle on the handle,
I ain't gonna lie, that's nice.
is nice.
Did you switch it while you were operating it?
Oh yeah, several times.
Yeah. Other than that, you guys touched on almost everything. You've got small things like telescoping stabilizers and lower links arms that are very nice. Everything is very robust on the back end. Now this one comes with a quick hitch. That's not standard, but of course you can throw a quick hitch on there. You've got different tire options, turf, industrials, agriculturals, all those kind of things. But I wish it had the buttons on the back for those, that forward and back, and for adjusting your link arms. That's something that I think needs to be more standard on tractors these days.
Yeah, I think it's almost to the point of a safety issue. It's very handy to do that. Pete, I think you're going to have to ask him the tough questions.
How much does it cost?
Well, I had one of my guys look it up while we're out here. If you were going to get it spec'd how you're going to need it, 2 sets of rear hydraulic remotes, a third function for grapples and other stuff on the front, and a set of, let's say, 3,000-pound lift capacity pallet forks from Land Pride, so you can max them out without damaging it. Depending on cash versus finance and everything, you're going to be between $58,000 to $59,000 for that setup. So in the upper 50s.
Now, we didn't talk about the air seat in that. Is that
okay?
What are we?
That is about an additional $1,000 for that air ride suspension seat, and it's just whether or not you can justify that expense.
Well, we've talked about it all day. I can justify it.
You can justify it.
Because if I'm going to work in this thing all day long, I want to be comfortable.
Yeah.
To that end, are there any other options that you can think of that might be important?
Kind of important work lights. So unfortunately, Kubota is still very antiquated on that end, where it's almost always halogens, and they're only coming with front work lights. So they're front halogen work lights. So I would highly recommend getting front and rear work lights on it.
Okay.
You've already got the third function, which is nice. This comes with a load level indicator on it, so you can easily level that load out. That is standard on these loaders.
What are we thinking, another $1,000 there?
Oh no, not a couple hundred, if that.
Okay.
$100-200 for front and rear LEDs.
So we're a touch over 60.
The engine horsepower is over 60, isn't it, even though it's an L6060?
Correct. It's technically 62 engine horsepower on it, but it's realistically more is an actual 60, because once you put it in the tractor, it's rated at 60. If you had that engine outside of the tractor just sitting there, it'd be a 62 horsepower.
Okay, and the PTO horsepower?
PTO is 53. Now that's something that we tend to, Kubota has the #1 diesel engine in the world, and under 100 horsepower, and their engine to PTO ratio is usually very high. So if you took a 62 horsepower, another brand tractor, there's a very good chance you would not get 53 at the rear PTO.
Yeah, I believe the 4066 was 52, so 1 horsepower apart, and in the opposite direction that you would expect. You have any other questions?
Not other than the turf tires.
Would that be an upcharge?
I think the turf tires are very similar in price to the industrial, so it'd be about the same price. You just have to get them. Not many places stock those turf tires, so it'd just be something ordered in.
Right.
Zach, thank you very much.
Absolutely, it's been a pleasure.
Very much appreciate you making this happen on such a
happy to help, and
such
happy to have
short...
a 50th to show you guys. It's kind of fun to have this one.
This is a nice machine. Really appreciate it. So we've seen 2 tractors today.
Yep.
I would say the two nicest tractors in this size. I believe they said somewhere around 68 to 69 for the Deere. Can't remember for sure. If I'm wrong, please go back in the video.
Yeah.
And this one is probably going to be about 60. Time we get a couple other options on it. Which way are you leaning?
I think when I am dead serious, I would have to come test both tractors out again, get a formal quote on paper, take it home, sit down, look at it, go over it with my wife, and make sure we're both on the same page.
I definitely
kind of
agree with that. I mean, making a decision with what little time we've spent would not be wise.
Oh, yeah,
I agree with that.
That's a chunk of money.
But come on, we're on YouTube here. Where are you leaning?
If I had to buy one today, is that what you want to know?
Yeah, and
The
I'll hold you to it, of course.
the 10 grand would come into play.
Okay.
I don't mind buying quality. I don't mind spending extra for quality, but I got one quality here and I got another quality over there, but one's quite a bit more expensive.
So from your view today, you view these tractors as very, very similar in overall package.
Yeah. Yeah, of course, each tractor has their own specific thing that makes them a little bit unique that might make me like that better about that tractor. But to save that kind of money, I'm really not going to pay much attention to all the little quirks. You know what I mean? That's a big price difference.
It sure is. Hey, I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I think this has been very informative.
I've learned quite a bit about tractors today that I didn't know. And I absolutely have loved the day.
If nothing else, I've enjoyed getting to spend some time with you, Pete.
Yeah,
I mean, this has just been fabulous.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely. Well,
get
you're
to know
welcome.
you a little better.
You're welcome down this way anytime you want to come. Man.
Well, I only have to wear one little sweatshirt here in late November.
Yeah.
Instead of being bundled up like
And
Frosty the
this is
Snowman.
abnormal. We're going to be nice and warm next week.
Oh, don't tell me about all that.
Yeah. Come on back. We'll mow some grass at my house.
We quit mowing grass quite a while ago at my
I know.
house.
We're still getting it here.
Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time on Tractor Time with Tim. For the sake of your name, Lord, forgive my iniquity, though it is great. Who then are those who fear the Lord? He will instruct them in the ways they should choose.
She said, don't come home with a tractor.
Oh, you mean you got specifically told not to come home with a tractor?
Yeah,
You didn't
kind of
tell me
little
that.
way. She was like, don't do anything stupid.
Oh, well, this is not
That's
stupid.
different, yeah.
Well,
That's not
but I know my wife. 20 years, I know what she means by that.
Yeah,
She
but-
means
but
don't
you
come
can-
home with a tractor.
You can act like you don't know.
Tim, you're supposed to be giving good advice. Here, brother. Good advice.